Okay, so we're gonna take up the rest of this exam review package. All right, so this question: tickets to a school band concert cost $5. They expect 300 people to buy the ticket if it's at $5. But then they are thinking, what if we increase the price to $3.50? So, but then they realize that if they increase the price for every 50 cents that they increase, 20 less people will go to this concert. So, what is the best ticket price to set so that they can make the most money? Right? So I'm modeling this equation in factored form. So we have this. So $5 a ticket, and then an increase in 50 cents per ticket is the plus 0.50x. But then you lose 20 customers every time. So then minus the 20x. Do FOIL, expand it out, and then collect like terms. Now I have this in standard form. So this is my A, this is my B, this is my C. So part A, it was just basically this, part A. Part B tells you to find the zeros. So find the x-intercept. So if I do the quadratic formula, which you need to know, need to memorize for the exam, you can sub those values in, and you will get x to be negative 10 and 15. Okay, so those are, remember, all parabolas are symmetrical. So if you have your two x-intercept, how do I find the vertex? Where exactly is the vertex? Yeah, the middle, right? So if you try to figure out the middle between negative 10 and 15, you'll see that the middle is at 2.5. So this is where that 1,562 comes in. So at 2.5, it's at 1562.50. So this is your vertex. Okay. And then y-intercept is just the 1500 right here. So 1500, that's your z value, and then your x-intercepts are negative 10 and 15. Y-intercept, remember, we're going to say, so we'll just write y-intercept. Because it's not really it's not a line, it's a parabola, so I'll just write y-intercept equals 15. Okay, so to sketch it, so I have my negative 10, I have the 15, 2, 4, 5, and then the y-intercept at 1500. Okay, and then the maximum is at 2.5 and 15,620 something. About right here. Okay, so when I graph this, remember it's supposed to look symmetrical. So it looks something like that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then, so what ticket price though? What ticket price will generate the most? Remember that this right here, this vertex is at 2.5. What did we say x represent again? William?
Price changes.
Price changes. That's right. So it's not increasing it by $2.50. It's the number of 50 cents increase. So it means you should increase price 2.5 times. Jaden, you wanna focus? All right. So 50 cents times 2.5 times equals $1.25. So originally Originally, the ticket was $5. So if you add $1.25 to it, it means it's gonna generate the most money. That's $6.25 per ticket. At $6.25 per ticket, that's when it will generate them the revenue of $1,562.50. Okay. Okay. Next one, the path of a rocket is modeled by this. Okay, where h is the height, t is the time since launch. So you're again, remember how I said like these word problems, anything that you write down for me could get you marks. So in, for example, this right here, even just drawing the diagram could help get you marks. This is time, this is height. Okay, looking at this equation in standard form, at what height did I launch this? Yep, 29 meters. That's right, because that's my y-intercept. Right? What is the maximum height reached by the rocket? So this point right here. So we talked about this in chapter 6. Whenever you hear the word maximum, minimum, what are we looking for? Vertex. And how do we find a vertex? Complete the square. That's right. Do you think you need to do complete the square on the exam?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. What about the quadratic formula?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's basically your chapter 6. It was complete the square and quadratic formula. So definitely you will be asked that. Okay, so Gavin, since you did this question, lead me through what to do. Go ahead.
Plus 12, you divide 12 by 2 squared, you get
Okay, so divide it first. So then 12 divided by -3, you get the -4. And then, as you said, half of it square. So -4 divided by 2, square it, you get 4. Okay, remember I always want to write this on the side. Actually, here, I'll write it. -2 squared, which is 4. Okay, so that means I'm gonna add 4 minus 4. Okay, and then this part. So this part goes together. This part I bring out. Alright, don't forget completing the square. That's how you complete the square. We have the full list, the full steps and how to solve that. Okay, so I just wanted to do the color code so that you see where that -2 came from. Okay, and then when you multiply that out, you get the plus 12. So h equals -3t minus 2 squared plus 41. 41. Okay. So what does this mean if I were to write a therefore statement? Perfect. So remember this is your when, and this is your height. Okay, because this is in vertex form. So the rocket will reach maximum height of 41 meters after 2 seconds. Okay. On the exam, it's either going to be a rocket or a soccer ball or a basketball. It's going to be something like this. Okay. Any question about completing the square? since you have to know how to do it. Okay. Describe the transformation of this. You guys should be expert at this since you did a whole culminating. So the negative, let's do it step by step. What does the negative tell you? Reflected on X. If you write flipped on the exam. Yeah. All right. I don't want flip. Yeah. Okay. Okay. What about the half? What does the half tell you?
The half tells you that it's compressed.
William?
Squeezed by 1 half.
Okay. If you write squeeze, will you get the mark? Compress. Yeah. It's mathematical. Compress by a half. The -3 this part. Jonathan?
Right 3 up 4.
Right, good. Right 3, and then this up 4. Good. What is your vertex here? Jonathan?
3, 4. 4.
Yep. Vertex is 3, 4. Okay, and then we can graph it by just doing the step method.
1, 3, 5.
So steps are 1, 3, 5. And each time, what am I multiplying it by? Careful. Negative a half. Right, so negative 0.5. That's your A value. Okay, so that means from my vertex, I'm gonna move over 1 and down a half, move over 1 and down 1.5 box, move over 1 and down 2.5 box. Okay, so let's graph it. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Move 1 over, down half a box. Move 1 over, down 1.5 box. And then move 1 over, down 2.5 box. Okay. Again, remember your thing should be symmetrical. So that's what it looks like. From this graph, I can tell what is my y-intercept. Negative 0.5. My x-intercept, my zeros, looks like it's about like 0.2 and 5.8, something like that. All right. So if you were to find the zeros, you can tell it should be around that. How do you find 0 from vertex form? Expand it all out, put it into standard form, and then do quadratic formula. Okay. This question right here, we did quite a bit on this, and a lot of you guys did really well on this. How many marks do you think a question like this is worth?
8 marks.
8. Oh, not much. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Around 5 or 6 marks. 5 to 6 marks. So, how many of you think this is easy 6 marks? Yes. Okay. It was really quick, straightforward. You should definitely get full 6 marks on this question if you see it on the exam. All right, last one. The last thing, the trigonometry stuff. So the triangles. So similar and congruent triangles. Similar means similar. It means it's almost the same, but not quite the same. Mathematically, all the angles are the same. All right, so similar means all angles the same. Okay, and then what about the sides? Sides are a keyword, starts with a P. Yep, proportional, good. proportional. Okay. And then what about congruent? What does congruent mean? Yeah.
It means like that's they're different. Like,
Opposite. Then opposite to different.
no.
Congruent means same, right? So everything is the same. Same angle, same length. Same angles, same length. Okay. Right angle triangle. You can only do Pythagorean theorem on right angle triangles. You cannot do Pythagorean theorem just because you see any type of triangle. And SOHCAHTOA is also based on right triangles. So keep that in mind. What if it's not a right angle triangle? Then that's when we do sine law and cosine law. You've seen this question on the test. When can you use sine law? When you are given a pair. Okay. And when can you use cosine law? When you're given all three sides, or when you're given the two sides and the angle in between. Okay. Two sides, angle in between. Okay. Okay, so let's try this one right here. Allison is flying a kite. She has released the entire 150-meter ball of kite string. She noticed that the string forms a 70-degree with the ground. Mark is on the other side of the kite and sights this kite at an angle of elevation of 30. How far is Mark and Allison? Right, so Allison, Mark, kite. Alright. She released the whole 150-meter out. So that's how you fly a kite. Your string is in the air. So it's not on the ground. She noticed that the string forms a 70-degree with the ground. So we'll say that they are on the ground. So Allison and Mark, they're just lying on the ground flying the kite. So this is 70 degrees right here. Okay. And then Mark is on the other side of the kite and sights the kite at an angle of elevation of 30 degrees. So angle of elevation means this right here, so 30 degrees. Okay. So how far apart are they? Okay.
Oh, that's
Yes. Okay, so what's the first, so let's say if you can just draw this diagram, you got a mark. Okay, and then even if you find me irrelevant stuff on here, you might still get marks. Okay, so what's the first thing that pops up?
you can just sine law because you're not given two lengths. Like if there's an angle in between, then you have to do cosine.
Okay.
But you can find the other angle by doing 180 minus 70 minus 30.
Right, I can find this angle right here. There's actually a couple of different ways to do this question. Okay, but let's say I did this. So because this is 30, 70, that means this angle here is 80 degrees. It's not drawn to scale. Okay. And then, so now I have this pair. So I can use this pair to figure out what this is. Okay. So, sine law. So 150 over sine 30 degrees. Alright, on the last test, I've seen some people make the silly mistake. They put 30 as if it's a length, and then they put sine 150 as if it's an angle. Okay, so remember, don't mix those up. You're always doing sine or cosine or tangent on an angle. Okay, and then here, length k over sine 80 degrees. Okay, cross multiply and divide. Since k is on the top, I know I am multiplying and then dividing. Divided by sine 30 degrees. So k equals. On your calculator, make sure degree mode. Degree mode. Otherwise, that section of that exam is gone. Hi.
A question like this would be common.
Huh?
How many parts of the question?
Let me do the final answer first. Alright, so you get 295. Good. Alright, round to one decimal place. Round to the nearest 10.4. Round to the nearest whole. 95. 95. Alright, 295. Full marks? What is my unit? Meters. Okay. A question like this, 2-3 marks. Okay. Well, but then if you don't get it, then you don't lose so much marks, right? Okay. For the sake of the review, now that we know this is 295.4, if I were to use the quadratic form, sorry, not if I were to use the cosine law to find length A, what's my formula? Yeah.
C squared equals A
Oh,
squared.
I want to find length A.
Oh, okay. So A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2 B C cosine A.
Right. Alright. Do we know angle A?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I can't stress enough. I marked so many tests where you're given angle, but then you don't put it in. Okay. And then you don't know what you're solving for. So just on a side note, cosine law, sine law, you have to know both. Definitely a question on the test for that. Okay, and also for the sake of the review, let's say I want to find out how high is the kite above the ground.
Oh, use
SOHCAHTOA. Good. Okay, so let's say I have this. Okay, I want to find the height of the ground, height of the kite. Which one should I do? SOHCAHTOA.
We should do sine.
Sine. Okay, because looking from this angle, opposite over hypotenuse. So sine 70 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse, which is 150. So x equals 150 times sine 70. Sine 70 times 150. That means the kite is 141 meters above ground. Okay, so just for the sake of the review, I wanted to make sure we know the cosine law and SOHCAHTOA. How do you spell SOHCAHTOA?
SOHCAHTOA.
Good, you have been studying. Alright. What if you spell it wrong on the test? You're doomed. Okay, make sure you know how to spell it then. So 1, you need to know how to the sine law. 2, cosine law. 3, SOHCAHTOA. 4, Pythagorean theorem. Alright, that's what you need to know for the trigonometry unit. What's it like? Alright. I'll give an example. Okay, so that's like the condensed version of what you should know. I would say like minimum should know. If you know those, you should do pretty well. Over the weekend, go over it, see anything that you want to study. I do have all these extra practice questions on here. So there's all these practice questions, and then answers are on the back as well. Okay, so pick and choose your questions to do. These are the questions at the back are divided by chapters. So you can see chapter 1, chapter 2, and so forth. So Jaden, whichever chapter you are struggling with, you can do questions from that chapter specifically. Do some studying this weekend. It is the last weekend before your final exam, so try your best. Monday, I'll pick and choose questions from here to do with you guys. Okay.